Seems fair to me. Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it unacceptable by any reason.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Donnybrook. And a little later in the program, we'll tell you how you can join us at the Sheldon for the upcoming Donny Bash, which, believe it or not, is next month. Wow, we're already halfway through August. Well, we have a lot of things to talk about in this edition. Let's start by introducing our panelists. She's the media veteran herself. Heard her this morning on the Big 550 KTRS, Wendy Weiss. Mr. Bill McClellan from STLtoday.com and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Ray Hartman holds court on the Big 550 KTRS weeknights at 9, and he also writes for the Riverfront Times. And Alvin Reed is heard and seen all over the place. 97.1, 590, the St. Louis American, STLmag.com. And we go to you, Wendy Weiss, for our first topic. Steve Stenger, who pleaded guilty, he was the county executive for St. Louis County, was sentenced last Friday in the courtroom of Judge Catherine Perry, and she pretty much threw the book at him. 46 months, that was the maximum. $250,000 fine.
Also the maximum.
$130,000 restitution, and I'm not sure if it was a lenient move or if it was an even tougher move. She said that he can stay here in St. Louis until the birth of his daughter or son in mid-September, and then he can go off for almost 4 years of incarceration. I'm not sure what would be more difficult, to leave now and start serving the sentence, or to see your baby and then say goodbye. What do you think?
Well, that's the plight of being a parent and also a corrupt politician. We all have choices. We are all faced with choices every single day of our lives. And I'm not sitting here like some moralist, but he had to know at some point that what he was doing was wrong. If not, I hope he gets some psychiatric help while he is at the prison. And I don't know what makes me feel so vengeful when it comes to Steve Stenger. I don't mind a corrupt politician. I don't mind an arrogant politician. But when you are corrupt and arrogant, then I was actually very uplifted by Judge Perry and her admonition in court when she said that you have violated, I'm paraphrasing, but you violated the public trust. A corrupt, we don't believe in our leadership anymore because of people like you.
I was surprised that she gave him that much time. I thought that Scott Rosenblum would be able to bring her down a little bit. I mean, why hire somebody like Rosenblum otherwise? And the business about, you violated a public trust, there's an awful lot of that going around. And I don't think that many of us had a whole lot of faith in government, county or otherwise, before Stenger. So I was surprised. I thought it would be more of a sentence of about 3 years.
I wasn't surprised. Just as more and more from that transcript of the different times, where people were wearing wires and all that. And boy, I would sure like to one day find out who had on what, where, and all that. But just as a little bit comes out at a time, the things he said, I think were just adding months to his sentence. I think he had a chance maybe a month ago, but then the judge, she probably had read it all.
Well,
that.
Certainly
Right.
the defense would read it and go, we can't go to trial with you saying this stuff.
Right. So I think that added in the judge's mind. That's what we took us to the $250,000. I would probably ask the judge, could I not go until my daughter was born? Because if you don't have anything else, you got a picture of you holding your daughter, which you can then explain 4 years from now, or when the child is old enough that I did hold you. I was not in prison. I was there when you were born.
I agree with Alvin, and
I do have a heart, by the way.
Well,
I don't like him very much, but I have a soul.
No, I agree with him. I thought it was a fair sentence and compassionate on the point of giving him that choice, which she didn't have to do, and I would think he would. I assume he's chosen to. Sure. Wait, and I kind of like you. I think I thought it would be more like 40 or something, but I don't think at the end of the day that's really that material a difference. And I thought it was a fair sentence that she gave him, and
But she didn't cut him any slack for pleading guilty and sparing the government the money and time and expense of a prosecution.
I mean, you didn't think
well,
she
I
should?
thought that maybe he would expect something.
Well,
hey,
like
I pleaded
thought-
guilty immediately.
But keep in mind, I mean, when you talk about 37, I mean, it wasn't like a range of 3 years to 20 or something.
Right.
We're talking about a range of 9 months.
And it was a negotiated plea. So, I mean,
Right.
they would go in there, and if there's 5 charges, get 3 dropped or something. I mean, they're not pleading for nothing.
Speaking of law enforcement, and we were, Bill, I want to ask you about Major Mary Warnicki of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department this week after the tragic shooting and death of a 7-year-old in North St. Louis. She kind of wagged her finger at the citizenry, saying, you've got to come forward with the information so we can capture those who are responsible. We had talked about this a couple weeks ago where we were saying, hey, it's the burden on the police department to come on up with capturing these people. Now she's kind of turning the tables a little bit.
Well, I thought she was well-spoken, and if you can call it a happy outcome, that they at least have arrested somebody. But, these things, I always feel that the family sometimes knows, because like when there's, in this instance, an 18-year-old on the porch with the child is usually not a target. It would be the 18-year-old would more likely be the target. So you figure a lot of times the family or friends have an idea who did this, but these things get so complicated. Somebody else had done a shooting, and they don't want to go to the police and say, well, my other son did this. I mean, these things are a mess.
Well, I'm going to stand with, the impetus is on the police. And I understand that nobody wants to talk and all that, but you just have to do, this is what the police department is for, okay? And it's a dangerous job, and I think it's a misunderstood job, but it's a job. And, I mean, you got to solve kids 8 years old, and like you said, somebody's been arrested, but I guess the 8-year-old before this one, I don't think they have arrested anybody, and that was shooting at him on a porch, and somebody knows something. But I mean, go get them. You can do it. I mean, I have full faith that they could solve this crime without anybody in the neighborhood.
Do you still think that the community will come up with the answers and help the police on the DL, or?
Ultimately, I don't know.
It's too difficult a decision, unless we walk in the shoes of the people who are living in that situation.
Exactly. You'd be terrified.
You would be terrified.
Yeah.
They are terrified.
And I think my main takeaway is we don't live in their shoes.
Right.
And because we don't, I hesitate, and I agree that the police are a place that we really ought to hope that they can obviously do their job, and I think they try their best, obviously. But I think that there's a danger in generalizing and talking about the families or the communities need to do this. It's sort of case by case in a lot of ways, and you would hope, obviously, that the communities would, and you would hope that families would come forward. But not being there, it's a little hard to generalize, I think.
Hey, great. Let's move on to another topic, and then we'll tell people how they can join us for Donny Bash. Nicole Galloway, the state auditor, has thrown her hat in the ring. She's going to run for governor, and of course, the incumbent is Mike Parson. Do you think she'll be the first female governor in the state of Missouri?
I think it's absolutely impossible to predict, and the reason is the biggest factor, which is outside of her control or anybody else's, is who the Democrats nominate for president. So if the Democrats nominate a centrist, for example, then the answer is I think she's got a pretty good chance. If the Democrat, which we don't know, if they have more of a left leaning, one of the more progressive candidates, who, regardless of what that means nationally, that makes her job that much harder in Missouri. So I think that's the X factor that you can't predict. I think that she had a very good video that she came out with. She's certainly qualified, and she's definitely the best candidate the Democrats could run. But I think it remains to be seen who's on the top of the ticket.
Well, she's running against what she refers to as the corruption in Jefferson City. And what's kind of interesting about Mike Parson is, even though he was lieutenant governor and he's got a history in Jefferson City, he has kind of been untainted by, I don't think people associate him with the usual shenanigans in Jefferson City.
Well, I'll tell you who does, other Republicans. I don't think Mike Parson will win the primary.
Wow.
I think he'll get primaried. I just
See?
think he's just a lame duck and just in that seat. And I think one of the challengers, maybe Eric Schmidt from Glendale, I think he'll take him out. I don't think he's going to win.
Eric Schmidt's going to run against him?
Oh, absolutely. He's saving money not to run for Attorney General again. He's going to run for governor.
Are you serious?
It's my belief.
Whoa,
to me.
that's interesting.
And so I think he gets primaried, and then I think
I'll take that bet.
I think Nicole Galloway has a good chance to win because she has done her job and she has done it well, and it's involved Democrats, Republicans, and not-for-profits, and she's done her job and she's done it well, and she's called out black, white, rural, metropolitan.
Right.
I think people appreciate that
I agree, but that's a different job than being governor. I know Ray said she's qualified, but she's an auditor.
No. She would be a good governor. I think.
She's a good person. I think.
No,
I think she's done a great job as auditor, but that's a whole different job. Being governor.
Auditors often jump up. I mean, John Ashcroft was an auditor.
Claire McCaskill.
Claire McCaskill was a senator.
It's a stepping
Never
stone
mind
job.
Governor Parson.
Yeah.
Have our governors, the last 5, 6 of them, stood out? I mean, what makes it like?
Not in the way they wanted to.
She couldn't be governor. Like what? Greitens, Matt Blunt, Nixon in the last years of his administration.
How about
That's
Carnahan? We're getting the timeout sign. Hold your thoughts, folks, because we're going to go to the Sheldon in September, and we're going to invite you to join us. And here are some of the details.
The Donnybrick crew sure have a lot of tough and interesting subjects to talk about on this show. Hi, I'm Phil Wright. I'm a member of the 9 Network for Public Media, inviting you to become a member this evening also. As always, for over 30 years, the Donnybrook team has met every week to discuss the topics that affect the St. Louis region. And by becoming a member during this pledge break, we have some nice presents for you, including the Donnybrick. I'm very excited about this. It's a soft foam red brick, life-size Donnybrick. For $5 a month, sustaining membership, you can have a Donnybrick. What's nice about this is you can throw it to the TV when one of the panel members says something you don't agree with. Also, for $5, if you'd rather not have the brick, we have a ticket for one to Donny Bash, which will be Thursday, September the 26th, which is next month at the Sheldon Concert Hall, one of the best venues in the Grand Center area. And for a $12 a month membership, you can get both the Donnybrick and 2 tickets to Donny Bash. Now, the Sheldon Concert Hall is, as I said, a very good venue, great parking. You'll start the evening out with a little reception, followed by a live program that goes out over the air, and you'll be able to watch the show take place. And then it's followed by a reception afterwards where you'll be able to meet and greet the panelists. It's always a fun evening, a great time, and you can talk to the different panel members that you've always wanted to ask a certain question but never had an opportunity to. At the $60 level and above, you'll be able to get 9 magazine, which comes out every 2 months. It has a program guide in it and the important information about other 9 net community opportunities. Plus, you get access to 9 Passport. 9 Passport is a video stream that we'll talk about more in the next time we're back here. Right now, we're going to go back over to the Donnybrook set where I believe Kate is going to talk to the panel.
I am indeed, and this is probably the first time in, I don't know, the many years that I've done this. When we've come back over here, I haven't had to go shh, 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 because these guys are always talking and trying to finish their conversation. And one of the things I think people love about watching Donnybrook is that there is no lack of conversation. There's always something to talk about.
There really is, and thanks to all our politicians from Steve Stenger, Mike Parson, Nicole Galloway, and on and on. No,
the gifts
thank
that
you.
keep giving.
Absolutely.
Right? They really are.
City of also,
That's right. That's right. Well, one of the things that I think is important about this show now more than ever is that all of you can have a difference of opinion, but you do discuss it. You know, so often now in politics, people, if they disagree with each other, they won't even talk to each other about it. They talk amongst themselves and their sides. And that's something that this show, well, you were one of the founders. That's what the show is built on.
Yeah, but we don't talk to each other offset.
No.
He goes to his trailer.
She has the brick.
I have the brick.
No, we like to think that we're trying to emulate a happy family dinner table where people have, love each other, which we all do, and still can disagree agreeably.
Right.
And that's the Martin Dugan tradition. I remember when he was on the program, we always had people of disparate opinions. Everyone always got along. And we always retired.
Now, here we are.
Well, no, we do.
But you're right,
and
though.
it's not, I wouldn't call it a trailer. It's more of a small.
Well, you always talk about how we retreat. We all retreat now to our silos, and that's really it. It's
Well,
we
that's
have
what I'm
our
talking
Not
about,
here.
yeah.
not here.
Not here.
No,
But as a society.
As a society, culturally,
Yeah.
people scream, and then, as you said, they just sort of go into their silos.
And then they go on the internet and they talk to each other about, whatever. But I think that, for me, that is one of the things that's so important on Thursday nights as I watch Donnybrook or catch the reruns on the weekends, is that there actually is a discussion. People are talking across the table, if not across the aisle.
Civil discourse. And, you're absolutely right. I have a friend who lives in Oak Park, Illinois, and he will not talk to his neighbors because he doesn't like who they voted for president.
Wow.
And, it just can't be that way. You have to arrive at the table, share your views, and walk away saying, hey, let's go have a drink.
Right.
Or two.
And I think the beauty also, for the most part, now obviously, different times it does happen, but for the most part, we talk about things that are local that actually have some impact in people's lives that, this is not philosophical discussions, this is stuff that's happening here. What's your opinion? And within our region on items of regional interest, there's differing opinions. But yeah, people aren't necessarily at each other's throats.
Right.
So we just kind of follow up on that.
Well, and there's going to be the opportunity for people to share their opinions with each other when we have Donny Bash coming up. And one of the things that happens there is before the show, people get together and talk, and then after the show, get together and talk over a few drinks.
You got it. There's nothing like it in television, we like to say, and it's our big fundraiser for the 9 Network.
Right.
And so drinks, conversation, drinks, it's all good.
Yeah.
And that is coming up next month. As a matter of fact,
26th,
sometimes
right?
on the 26th, just right here in our backyard
Yeah, I
in
know.
Sheldon.
And, I guess it's the last time we'll join the good folks between now and then. When we start this in December, it seems so far away, and like that, it's here.
here.
So
It's
you're out of time.
That's
So
right.
call that number.
It's
Yes.
6 weeks. 6 weeks from tonight, right? I believe that is what it
I
is.
If that's what you
so.
say.
And-
You know what?
and-
Phil will be able to
Yes.
tell us that because he's going to be giving us details about Donny Bash.
Thank you, Kate. It's always interesting to hear what the panel has to say, and you'll have that opportunity if you take advantage of the gifts that we have this evening, including a ticket to Donny Bash. We have the Donnybrick, which is always fun to have. You can throw it at your TV, but I do recommend tie a string to it, a long string, so when you throw it at the TV, you can reel it back in. But also for $5 a month for a monthly contribution, you can get one ticket to Donny Bash, which will be Thursday, September 26th at the beautiful Sheldon Concert Hall. Or if you'd like, you can do for $12 a month, you get both the Donnybrick and 2 tickets to Donny Bash. Donny Bash is so much fun. If you haven't been and you watch the show every week, you really want to take the opportunity to go. You get a chance to have a reception prior to the show. You get to see the show broadcast live from the beautiful Sheldon. And then afterwards, there is a reception where you can do a meet and greet with the panelists and ask them questions that you've been wanting to find out about. Also, at the $60 or more level, you'll get the 9 magazine, which includes a program guide, and you also get access to 9 Passport, which is a video on-demand service which has a rich library of different public broadcasts and shows, and that's something that we make available to you. So be sure to become a member. You can do that very easily by coming to 9net.org, that's NINEnet.org, or calling the number 800-568-9099. Call now.
Here we go again. Alvin Reed. Well, I guess the announcement will be official Tuesday at 11:30, but the MLS has selected, we are told, according to sources, St. Louis as one of the next sites for a soccer franchise. Great for St. Louis?
Oh, good for St. Louis. I think it's, anytime you can say we have this, we have that, that's good. We'll see if they can keep up attendance as time goes by. We'll see what it does for St. Louis. I don't buy any of the promises coming out of the organizations, downtown, because what else are they going to say? I will say this, that the ownership group has got their money out there. I wrote a couple of weeks ago in the American about how they had given $50,000 to St. Louis Public Schools and $50,000 to Matthews Dickey Boys and Girls Club just for soccer development and equipment and uniforms and things like that. So keep growing soccer all over the community, not where it's already a hotbed. And I think I think it's a good thing.
I was going to say it would have been a bad thing if we didn't get it, just because
That's right.
everybody
That's
was
right.
kind of hoping for it, and if all of a sudden St. Louis got knocked down, it would have been deflating. So I think it's a very good thing.
I was going to say the same thing,
Oh,
except not as
great
well.
minds.
And not
Yeah,
not
no,
as
not
well.
as
Exactly.
It wasn't going to
articulate.
be as articulate. I think it's the primary benefit to St. Louis is for morale.
Right.
It's a win. And I think it is good for St. Louis. And I do think St. Louis will support this team and sell out every game. I really do. That said, I think, and also good for the Taylors that they're doing this and being such good citizens. But don't forget, this is a good investment. And one of the things I wrote about is they are buying into international soccer marketing. The key to their business investment, and I hope they make all the money in the world doing it, is they're getting a piece of jersey sales in the Caribbean on soccer. And so I think it's good. I'm sure when it comes out it'll be made to look like it was all altruistic, but they are really great corporate citizens. Citizens, and
we
it
know
will be
they're-
good for St. Louis.
And we know they're brilliant business people
right.
too, But I really think we love to watch documentaries, and this is it CTE.
Brain.
Yeah, the brain injury with football associated so closely with football. Really, I think is going to eventually have an impact on the National Football League, and I think a lot of young people, as a result, are sort of getting more kind of. Your son played soccer.
Yeah.
Lorna probably played soccer. It's such a popular sport with younger generations. I think it's going to
I like soccer from a distance. I never played. I don't really watch. And I don't even watch football. But the numbers of football are so huge. If you look at the 10 most popular television programs of the year, every year, about 8 of them are football related. The Super Bowl gets, 120 million viewers? The women in the recent World Cup victory had 12. I mean, there's not even any, and they're more popular than the guys.
It's very regional. It's toward your city. I mean,
There's 17 games.
I know. Charlie, I'm not
Charlie.
arguing with you. I'm just saying that it is popular in places like Kansas City, and people do go. Now, here's the caveat I want to throw in all this. Let's keep watching the deal. Let's keep watching the stadium.
If it
Let's
changes,
keep
takes on a
watching
new-
from now, 2022, because the trap we fall into is we'll celebrate, I guess, on Tuesday when they make the announcement, and then all kind of shenanigans is going on. I think they're on the up and up.
So we're
I don't
clear.
think.
I really think they are.
This coming
Yeah.
from the city, this coming from the state, this coming from MLS, this coming. Let's just watch the deal.
Alvin, I've seen a number already thrown out there that the total value of public stuff is something like $40 million. So it's not nothing, but to at least it's not what we were talking about before with that hideous sales tax. Yeah. And the problem, and I'll stick to what I said on the original deal, which is they should get what anybody else gets. Now I know you were leading the charge and you're right that nobody should get anything, but in the real world where companies get incentives, I didn't think they should get less than anybody else. I think it's interesting, Alvin's point is watch it, but the one thing it's not going to do is be an economic needle mover. It's not that.
Well, Kitty Ratcliffe says it will.
I don't
Kitty
agree with
Ratcliffe,
her.
the head of convention
her.
business,
We
says
don't know.
it's going to be a
I
big
disagree.
boon for the western part of downtown.
It certainly helps with young people.
It's nice.
See,
Thank
soccer's
you. I
a
think it is, too.
young people
It's
watch
nice.
soccer more than old people
Well,
do. So this
you're
is
an
good
old
for
people.
us.
Well, I might be.
That's it.
I got turned off when the MLS kept saying, "Well, I don't know, St. Louis, we still need to see more."
I've written
And
about that too. I
After
know.
the Stanley Cup, which, let's face it, the Blues basically have the same ownership group as the MLS. You got Kavanaugh's, you got Taylor's, you got some Danforth's, whatever. And I thought, especially with the enterprise connection, I thought, if the MLS doesn't want what we've done,
that's the
they
MLS.
can walk. And the Taylors gave them, they said, hey, if you don't want the deal this year, forget it, because the deal's we're not going to have the offer next year. I think that was great negotiating on their part.
But I just think that's the MLS. They're posturing. The way
their business model is to add teams. Right. I mean, that is their business model. If they don't add teams, they're done.
That's how they make the $2 million.
Except for the international marketing part. Don't leave that out.
But we got to read your column.
They're still not just going to roll over.
But I'm telling you.
If you weren't on KTRS, I'd interview you on KMOX on that very issue.
Can't do it.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this, Ray, though. Bungie Corporation, number 247 on the Fortune 500, announced this week that it's going to move 150 jobs or so, that's the number in its corporate headquarters in White Plains, New York, to St. Louis. I believe it's Chesterfield. Now, do you think this is because our Republican friends in Jefferson City had the foresight and the wisdom to lower the corporate tax rate in the state to 4.1%, where in New York it's 7.2%?
Well, first of all, do you consider this a bungee jump? Is that what this is?
Oh!
Boy, that's bad. Anyway, I...
Don't encourage it.
Really. I don't even like that one. But no, I mean, I think you don't know. It could be a factor. I mean, doesn't hurt. When companies make decisions to move, they have a lot of factors. And, the orthodoxy of cutting corporate taxes so that's going to make somebody move is false. Partly because there's too many other factors, and also because there's a trade-off. The more you cut corporate taxes and cut revenues to the state, the less you invest in the workforce, in education, and the other things that matter to companies to come here. So I don't think you can isolate it.
But I think that's the closest you're going to get to a yes from Ray Hartman.
Yeah.
I think that's essentially what he would say.
You can send your thank you note to Governor Mike
I think I was capable of saying yes if I wanted to say yes.
Well, they're not moving, I guess, the whole kit caboodle here, just like 150 jobs. Or
that's all they have there.
It's all right, so the CEO is going to move here?
Well, they didn't say.
All right. Because
it could be like Panera, where they don't move here.
And I was just kind of thinking that if he or she comes, then maybe they're looking for a tax break because they make however many $1 million a year. But other than that, I think, if they maybe asked the employees that had to move from White Plains, New York, and, said like, hey, will you make the difference up? They might sacrifice some of their salary.
Well, no MLS team in White Plains.
That may have been, well, no, that couldn't have been it.
That was a joke. But that was like the agricultural people that did want to move to Kansas City from Northern Virginia.
Exactly.
I mean, no, it's, what can you say? I mean, yay, they're coming to Chesterfield.
Good. Okay. Great week for St. Louis, MLS and Bungie. And Bill, in your home state of Illinois, Governor Pritzker signed a measure this week that'll mandate LGBT history in all public grade schools. What do you think about that?
Well, we're a progressive state that Illinois is. I think it's terrific, but I would like them to maybe add on 5 minutes, 10 minutes to the school day, just so that we don't skip something else. If you ask my granddaughter, and I did, something about George Washington, she said, yeah, he owned slaves, Dad. I said, well, he did, but there's more to it than this. And so I don't want to see him push some other history out of the way. Like if LGBT, if one of the Civil War or Revolutionary War generals was gay, great, put that in. But I don't know about trying to find stuff to put in at the exclusion of other stuff. Ray, you agree with that?
Go ahead.
You the provocateur now?
I don't know.
I have no problem with it. I mean, I don't think that they're like, the purpose of it is
I meant agree with me is what I meant.
No, I don't know about the 5 minutes. Right. I think that I think that to mandate that it be included in history is fine. I mean, I don't think it necessarily follows that what you're trying to do with talking about the community's history is out people from the revolution or something. I think it's more talking about the history of the
history of LGBT, and maybe the contributions
of
LGBT.
And I think
that's
it's contributions.
Right, and I think that's fine. And I mean, it's great. I think it's fine.
If you're going to have a course on English literature or something, you include Tennessee Williams, I think you should add that the man was gay. And that just opens people's eyes to the reality of the world. And I think kids can deal with that.
Just obviously, son of an educator and relative to many, what's the curriculum exactly? What
do we really want
that's
to
a good
run?
question.
Yeah, do we
what is
really
going to
want
be taught? I mean, if you're as a state, if you're going to say like this has to be taught, you got to get a little bit more guidance than that.
Do we really want to? I mean, to have a margin in the history books that deals with someone's sexual identity, or
Well,
I mean, is that you? I mean,
I
you
don't
think
think
that
that's
that's
a-
I
important?
think it's a good idea because so many people who are LGBT live in the shadows because there is a lack of knowledge and there's a lot of ignorance
Do
about.
you spend any time on social media? There are no shadows anymore. I mean, there are no shadows. Honestly,
Maybe you're right, but-
Truly,
Well, also, I will say
I
this.
mean, we grew up in a world where there were
Exactly.
shadows,
I'm just
but
going
there
to say,
are no shadows
you know what?
anymore.
Through our eyes, we all see ourselves as that kid in school, and then maybe as that young parent. But kids who are in third, fourth,
Yeah,
fifth,
they
going
are
up
not.
now,
Charlie,
they
this
are
isn't-
they are
this-
ready
but
for
this-
this.
Ray, 10
Their
seconds,
eyes
we gotta
are
go.
open.
This
Open.
isn't about outing people or talking about specific people. It's talking about the history of the LGBT community.
No,
That-
Ray,
not-
it's talking about their contributions to. It's like he
Yeah,
said,
sure.
Tennessee
They're-
Williams.
But it
and
doesn't
also
mean
the
that you have to.
movement.
They're mandating that they identify every person who was.
No, of course
layered.
not, yeah.
No, it isn't that. They're not doing that. It's,
All right.
It's just part of the.
Well, we'll see what happens when that legislation is enacted. Tell you what, we're going to ask you to join us at the Sheldon next month, and here's how.
From what's current in St. Louis sports to what's happening in the schools, our Donnybrook panel doesn't miss an opportunity to talk about the current affairs of the St. Louis region. And don't you miss the opportunity to become a member of Channel 9, the 9 network of public media. It's so easy to become a sustaining member. It's very easy to just go online to 9net.org, that's N-I-N-E net.org, or call 800-568-9099, and one of our many 9net volunteers will be happy to help you on the phone. Our gifts tonight for Donnybrook is the Donnybrick, which is so much fun to have. You can throw it at your TV when you get upset, and that's for $5 a month. Also at $5 a month, if you choose, you can get a ticket to Donny Bash. Donny Bash will be at the beautiful Sheldon Concert Hall here in Grand Center. That is Thursday, September the 26th. Or for $12 a month, you can get both the Donnybrick and 2 tickets to Donny Bash. And that'll be such a fun evening. It starts out with a small reception prior to going into the theater to watch them broadcast the show live. And then afterwards, it's followed by a meet and greet reception there at the Sheldon. You'll get to meet the panel and really have a chance and an opportunity to talk with them. At the $60 or more level, you'll get 9 magazines sent to your house 6 times a year with broadcast information, and you'll also have access to the 9 Passport, which is a video on-demand service provided to you by 9net and PBS. It has a rich history and library of many public broadcasting shows that you'll enjoy watching anytime, anywhere. So again, easy to become a sustaining member. Just go online to 9net, N-I-N-E, net.org, or call the number 800-568-9099. Call now.
And when you get your tickets to Donny Bash, you get to do what I'm doing right now, which is hang out with these people.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of cool, I'll tell you. They are fun and interesting people to talk to. I have a question. When you have the meet and greet before and after the show, I want to know who gets mobbed. Who is the most popular?
Alvin, that'd be Alvin.
Alvin. Alvin. Now, what is that going there?
I disagree with that.
That's why we call it Donnybrook.
I think it's all kind of equal. I mean, we all have our folks. But I have a good time. I mean, I like being around people. I especially like the format where, we talk before, and then we do the show. We talk after, and I've said it's get into the game early and seeing batting practice and seeing the game, but then getting to hang out in the clubhouse afterwards. So that's it. It's cool.
Do you ever get somebody mad? They come. People that liked you before the show, after the show, they're like, hey, what are you talking about?
No, everybody's in a really great frame of mind. And even when we have a general election right around the corner, There's, people, it's a raucous evening
I'll
at the
bet.
Sheldon, but people are still, I think, just very agreeably disagreeable or disagreeably agreeable.
Well, I think most of the people that listen and watch the show, they know how the game's played, and they know what we do, and we know why we do it, and why the show is successful. And I think they want to be more part of that, and they actually even want to fuss. It's a fun evening from beginning to end, and in the Sheldon, once you're in there, you think what a magnificent facility where the Temptations will be performing. I think shortly before us. So,
I hope they leave behind some of their molecules, their talents. Yeah.
But without the great Dennis Edwards, of course.
We lost
just
him
passed away.
Yeah, exactly.
But from their perspective, they think of it as the place that Donny Bash.
Yeah, sure.
Of course it is. Yeah.
They get very overwhelmed.
To answer your question, I have a lot of people come up to me and they'll say, "Do you think you could get me introduced to Charlie or Bill?"
Oh yeah, I doubt that.
That's what I get a lot of.
The
I'll walk you over and see if I can get you in the line.
The only danger about the night of Donny Bash is we all should be sort of positioned on lazy Susans, because we have people who are behind us, people who are in front of us, people who walk up, and I feel like we should just be constantly pivoting, and so that we don't miss anybody, but everybody, it's just a very festive evening, and everybody's in the right frame.
And great cause. Obviously, it's our big fundraiser. And, we don't do it a lot. Obviously, we just do one show, and we ask you throughout the year, but now's the time, because this is the last one before the show. And like I said, it's December, and we're, talking about Donny Bash in September of the next year. Way in the future. And next thing you know, it's here.
Well, and it always fills up, and you can get a ticket with a $5 monthly contribution to Channel 9. We'll send you a ticket to Donny Bash, and you can do, like I say, what I've been doing here is hanging out with these folks, or join us at that $12 level, and we'll send you 2 tickets to Donny Bash. You can bring along the spouse. How about that? Won't that be nice? And we'll also send you the returned Donnybrick, and that's this soft foam thing here. Don't bring it to Donny Bash. You won't need it there. But at home, you can make very good use of it.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be checking you. We'll be going through a foam detector to make sure. So please, let's talk more about those thank you gifts. I'll send you back over to Phil Wright.
Thank you, Will. And Will just covered what the gifts are tonight. So along with that, at the $60 or more level, you'll also receive 6 times a year a copy of 9 magazine, which has the program guide plus interesting articles of what's going on in the 9Net community. And you'll get free access to 9 Passport. 9 Passport is a video on demand service with hundreds of hours of shows on it, more being added every day. You can watch it anywhere at any time on your phone, on your computer, your notebook, and even your television. So don't forget, you get more than just the brick, but for $5 a month, you do get the Donnybrick, which you can throw at your TV when Bill starts talking about the Cubs or anything else comes up that you're not agreeing with. Or also at $5 a month, you can get yourself 1 ticket to Donny Bash, which is at the Sheldon Concert Hall on Thursday, September the 26th. Don't miss this great opportunity to see Donnybrook broadcast live from the Sheldon. Or for $12 a month, you'll get both the Donnybrick and 2 tickets to Donny Bash at the Sheldon. Great place to go. Parking is very convenient at the Sheldon. It's a beautiful venue. You'll get a chance to have a reception prior to the broadcast. You'll get to go into the Sheldon Theater itself to enjoy watching the broadcast live. And then afterwards, there's a reception, and you have a chance to meet and greet the panel and talk with them and talk with other members of the Donnybrook audience. It's always fun to meet people, and people that call in on afterwards, you'll meet them too. So don't forget, it's very easy to become a sustainer. All you have to do is go online to 9net.org, that's N-I-N-E, net.org, or call 800-568-9099. Now back to...
Thank you so much. Lots to talk about, and we're going to continue with you, Alvin Reed, about, what do you call it? If you're going to use an adjective in front of loop trolley, would it be the hyphenated, much beleaguered, controversial...
Trouble?
Trouble.
Trouble.
Well, let me ask you about this. One of our loyal viewers, who I hope will be with us at Donny Bash, is Yale Hollander. And it was announced that Yale is going to be among the comics who will now be performing on the Loop Trolley. Don't forget to tip your driver.
I said before,
So anyway, to increase ridership, our city leaders, civic leaders, have decided to install comedians, as if they weren't comedians to begin with, on the Loop Trolley. What do you make of them apples?
Well, Joe Edwards, love, peace, and soul. And Yale, you're a loyal viewer. I love you, man.
Here it comes.
But, people aren't getting on it because they're not getting on it, but the people that get on it don't want to hear a comedian. That's not what they're getting. They're either trying to get from point A to point B, or go to the Missouri History Museum, or get closer to the zoo.
But they're not on it.
I understand, but those that are, this is going to, I'm not going through that again. Okay. And they'll not take it.
And you're right. They're on their way to the History Museum, not the Catskills, right? I mean, this is not. Or I mean, what's next? They're going to have like a laundromat. I mean, they'll have a laundromat or like a washer and dryer in the front of the Loop Trolley, and then Yale in the back, and then
it's an experience, Wendy. Okay. It's an experience. People aren't really going. People really aren't going from one place to another on the trolley. That's one of the problems with the trolley. It goes from, Blueberry Hill to the History Museum. That's an odd thing. But this gives them an experience. They'll have a comedian. It'll be fun.
And you get on, and the guy, like the comedian, makes fun of you. You get like, where'd you get that coat, buddy?
It's like my wife who said, hey, take me somewhere where I've never been. I said, hey, how about the kitchen?
Okay, thank you, Rodney.
Stolen.
Allow me to walk the plank, as always. I think we had Yale, Jay Kansler and I had Yale on the air, and he's excited about it, and it's fun. I mean, I think it's just, let's not take this too seriously. They're not claiming it's going to, they're not making any claims about it. It's going to be a fun, colorful part of it, and just, just give it a chance, see how it works. And he's excited about it. I think the comedians are. It's not going to hurt anything. They're not the kind of comedians they have aren't going to be like, roasting people. No.
We need more comedians anyway.
And I think it adds. I think it's supposed to be about fun. As I say, it's not going to, speaking of moving economic needles, it's not going to do that. But I think it adds a little character and fun to it. That's all.
It could get some national attention.
Because
how many, except for Southwest Airlines, it
doesn't hurt anything.
This is definitely something that PBS would want to have a magazine, come out and take a look at.
A magazine?
It does not.
A PBS magazine?
It does not hurt anything. It really does. All right, let's move on.
Okay. Hey, Bill, I want to ask you about Chris Kerber, the voice of the Stanley Cup winning Blues, who was in an unusual situation. His daughter and her friends were playing soccer on one side of a high school field. Meanwhile, an amateur club football team was on the other side when I guess the football players kicked the orange cones from the 50-yard line, and kind of like the Soviet Union rolling into Czechoslovakia in 1968, they basically took over, and it became a news story on Channel 4. Did you like that story?
Well, when I first read it, I thought this is pretty interesting. It was the assistant football coach kind of being a bully, I thought. And then I heard that, the KMOV producers child was one of the soccer players, and that's why they did it. And that always seems to me too big-footing around when you're in the media and you say, all right, if you do this to my child, I'm gonna call you out in the media. I don't like that. I thought the story itself was pretty interesting.
You don't believe in the media settling scores? Personal scores?
Well, and as soon as I say that, I think, have I ever done it? And I think, well, not this week or anything. But but allow me to be kind of a hypocrite and say that that's big-footing around.
Or as someone else would call it, fake news. I mean, that truly, it sounds kind of staged. If it's not an organic, situation. It's something that it does take on a different cast if you look at it that way, that it was the producer's daughter.
Well, first he could have tried, do you know who I am? And second, if that failed, he could have said, hey, I've got 15 guys in the Stanley Cup that'll come down here and beat your tail. Yeah. You need to put those cones right back there. I don't think it was all that big a deal. One that could have been handled right there. Now, I probably would have put the cones back on the 50-yard line and seen where are we going from here. And, I mean, not to be confrontational, but at the same time, you had a right to be there, so just handle your business. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
My reaction was it didn't seem like a very fair fight between the football players and the little soccer kids. I mean, that
at that age, I bet you some little girls that age could beat up some little boys in football equipment.
You're probably right, but I still don't think it was a fair fight. But I Chris Kerber tweeted about it. He had every right to do that if he was. But having said that, would I? No, I wouldn't. I mean, so it's just everybody's got their own style. But I don't like tweeting and talking about my kids publicly because I'm doing it now.
How about Ray? Will you take the kids to London to see the Cardinals take on the Cubs next June? Believe it or not, it's a Cardinal home game. 2 games against the Cubs in London, near the Tower of London and Buckingham Palace.
We will not be doing that, but I think the Cardinals, who obviously had approved of the deal, should have said yes to any team but the Cubs. In other words, I think the Cardinals, one of the things, you want to talk about things that move, economic impact.
Needles, yeah.
The Cardinals' home games with the Cubs, losing those games materially affects hotels and restaurants and people and in this town economically. And the Cardinals could have said anything but our rivalry game because they could have. It was still the people in London wouldn't care if we were playing the Reds.
The Cardinals organization, and I know they are not hurting for money, but St. Louis as a whole will gain as much or more than 2 home games by playing in these games. This is one of those situations when asked to volunteer, you say, "I volunteer, sir."
And why?
Because
it pays off.
The first teams to play there were Boston and the New York Yankees. The 2 teams they asked to do it next are the Cardinals and the Cubs. You say yes to that because that puts you on an international stage. That puts you on just a national stage where everybody's looking at that game because it comes on at one of them comes on at like 9 o'clock in the morning. Or
and the Yankees are going to Puerto Rico, right?
Yes.
And then who is going to the Field of Dreams in Dyersville,
that's
Iowa?
Yankees and Orioles, right?
But Sullivan, don't forget. The Washington Generals, for years under Red Klotz, were on the international stage. Didn't help their franchise that much.
They played another team called the Globetrotters, so
my point is, it could have been the Cardinals and the Dodgers. It could have been the Cardinals.
No, Cardinals-Cubs is the rivalry.
No, but that's not in London. They don't care about that.
They don't care about Boston and New York.
No, but that's what I'm trying to say is this one affects. This is one of the few riverries that actually affects.
Ask Jerry Jones because Dallas goes everywhere.
Hold that thought.
Ask Jerry Jones.
We're going to ask you to write KETC to share that opinion because we're out of time. But we heard from Nancy Cooksey, who said, months ago, a caller suggested that Donnybrook would benefit from updating its TV set. I agree. The old drab background is like a time warp that detracts from your lively discussions of present-day topics. Thanks, Nancy. We also heard from Craig Baumberger, who wrote, no to leniency for white-collar crime. For years, there's been no mercy for marijuana violators, yet in many places, and more very soon, their conduct is no longer unlawful. Craig lives in Greenville. We'd like to hear from you. Write us care of KETC, 3655 Olive Street, 63108. Love those emails, letters at ketc.org, and those tweets, hashtag Donnybrook STL. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have more topics to discuss next week, and we look forward to you joining us at that time. Thanks a lot.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
We want to thank Alfonso's in Troy, Illinois for providing dinner tonight for our 9Net volunteers here on the phone bank. Everybody really enjoyed the food, and Alfonso's always does a wonderful job. And while we're thanking people, we want to thank the group that came in tonight. They're all 9 team. which means they're the volunteers here at 9Net, and they do a wonderful job too. You know, when Donnybrick ends, they always end with notes or emails from the viewers, and I always find those comments very interesting. And over the years, you notice that people aren't shy about what they say. And you'll realize that too if you get an opportunity to go to Donny Bash. And you can do that by becoming a member this evening. At the $12 level, you'll get a Donnybrick and 2 tickets to Donny Bash, which is at the Sheldon Concert Hall on Thursday, September the 26th. At that time, you'll have a reception prior to the live broadcast of Donnybrook. After that, you'll walk into the Sheldon, get your seat, and be able to have fun watching the panel go at each other as they talk about the current subjects live as it's being broadcast. Afterwards, there's a reception where you can do a meet and greet and meet not only the panel but other viewers, and some of the people that call in Donnybrook Your Turn will be there too, and it's fun to find out and put a face with people that are calling in. Or at the $5 level, you can get a Donnybrick, which is always fun. It's a nice soft foam. You can throw it at your TV when Bill starts talking about the Cubs, or one of the other panel members talk about something that you may not agree with. Also at the $5 level, you can get 1 ticket to Donny Bash. Now it's time to toss this back over to Kate Durbin.
I was like,
All right, we are back in here, and I think last time I had said it's really hard to get started on these because someone is talking. And when did you want to finish that story? You couldn't just hold.
No.
The old fun days.
The old fun days.
Yeah.
Yes,
What
both
goes on at
alumni.
fun stays at fun.
Stays at fun.
Well, we are glad to be here with all of you, and we know you want to be a part of Donny Bash. It's happening in just 6 weeks, as you mentioned, right?
Is it
Yeah.
6 weeks?
It is 6 weeks.
Yes,
Yeah.
just about. And we did, as you
Exactly
had said
6 weeks.
before, we had talked about this starting last December and thinking, oh, that's so far away. But it's coming up, and there are people who show up for this year after year after year.
And we love them, and we love newcomers too. So if you're a rookie and you haven't been yet, this is your chance to experience a live broadcast. It's our big fundraiser, and you meet members of the team and from behind the scenes, in front of the camera. And I think it's the highlight of my year, really. I mean, there's nothing quite like it.
And you do a lot of events. I'm kind of surprised to hear that. I mean, not that you wouldn't want to do something and it's a lot of fun, but you do a lot of different events, and this is a highlight.
Yeah, you know, you're engaged with other people who watch the show. By virtue of watching the show, you have something in common, and we all love St. Louis, so it's a good get-together.
Yeah, and you know, the whole aspect of a live television program is so rare now, and the fact that we get to do it is really
Rare,
cool.
yeah.
I mean, I appreciate everybody who's in the audience,
Right.
be they first time, many times, whatever, but the whole idea that you are really part of something. And I think a lot of people who have not been, I know people who have not been, don't realize that one of the first things we hear after the show, like, that was really live television. That was live.
Yeah,
like,
that was-
they finally
it really
actually
was,
get
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They finally like, no, right, they're counting it down, and
Like
we come
without a
on.
net.
Right, so like,
Yeah.
no, they're really doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I don't think they believe it's like, no, when we do the show, what you see is what, you know, like when the regular show, like, you know, what you see is actually exactly how, because we don't stop. There's no
Nope.
breaks. We just do the show.
Just do it.
Right.
They do it. And something you said is interesting, or you said that, you know, people feel like they know us. They're a part of
Right.
it. We have something in common, and people really do think they know you. Have you ever
Well-
had anybody ask you something that just surprised the heck out of you because they thought they knew you?
Well, it's funny because people are so familiar, particularly if they've watched for a long time. that
Right,
They
right.
do sometimes greet you in a way that, you know, and if you don't know them, you feel kind of awkward, like, I think I should know you, but then
Yeah,
they're
do
so
I?
familiar. But
Yeah.
I think what, I really mean this, I think one of the things that sets our show apart is that we, to back, kind of piggyback on what Alvin said, we really do appreciate the audience. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's
much.
not an act. I mean, and so a lot of, I don't think you can say that about every show, you know, and every TV. We really do. We realize how important, I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the audience and for the Channel 9. So we genuinely do appreciate it. And I happen, selfishly, maybe call it politics, I think PBS is more important to our country than it's ever been, ever.
Agreed.
So I think it's heartfelt. We really do appreciate people supporting this network.
And I'll tell you what, if you come and we hopefully see you, say hi to the people that do the cameras. And
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, hey, guys.
The best.
Find
your cell phone that can't
find a young
see
lady named
Tyler,
Anne Marie and
Barry,
thank her because we
Anne-Marie.
couldn't do. But you'll see it.
yeah.
That's the cool part. You'll see them do their job.
Right.
Yeah, the
and we
production
get
And
to
you'll
see
hear Anne Marie
Yes,
on everybody
right.
else's headsets.
Right. You'll think it's Saturn V is
That's-
about to take off. But that's Anne
her.
Marie dealing
That's
out
Anne Marie.
instructions.
She's
right.
directing us. She's directing us.
Well, and they're all such an important part of the team, the folks who are back here, but the people who are watching and who actually become members are also a huge part of the team. So we're looking for you and tossing it back to Phil.
Oh, good arm, good arm.
Thank you, Kate. And I caught it. How about that? Make sure you take the opportunity to become a member this evening and take the opportunity, if you have the open date, to go to Donny Bash. It's very easy to become a sustaining member. Just go online to 9net.org. That's NINE net.org. Or call 800-568-9099. Our gifts tonight is at the $5 level, you get the Donnybrick, which you can throw at your TV whenever you want. I'd put a string on it so I could reel it back in. Or also for $5, you can get one ticket to Donny Bash, which is at the Sheldon on Thursday, September the 26th. But the really nice gift at the $12 a month level is the Donnybrick and 2 tickets to Donny Bash, where you'll be able to go to the reception prior, see the live broadcast of Donnybrook from the Sheldon stage, and then go to the reception afterwards. The Sheldon is right here in Grand Center, easy to get to, easy to park, and a beautiful venue. You'll enjoy it immensely, I'm sure. Along with your $60 annual membership or higher, you'll get the 9 magazine, which is the program guide, and also you'll get access to 9 Passport, which is a live video on demand service that you can access anytime, anywhere from your phone, your iPad, your notepad, your computer, and even your television. So please be sure to join us. Thank you very much, and call now at 800-568-9099 or online at 9net.org.